For the life of me, can't even understand why Harry is going. I'm guessing Netflix may be one of the reasons, or the second edition of his amazing book. But given he hates the institution so passionately, what on earth is he doing there?
That's a great question. What is he doing there? I think he's a snivelling little rat, to be honest, to be skulking back in to watch his father's coronation, given the damage he's done to the royal family, the monarchy itself, his father, trashing him in that book. You know, he's got a brass neck, frankly. And my understanding from the royal family, I've spoken to quite a few of them recently, none of them really want him to be there. None of them are looking forward to catching up with old Harry after the way he's torched all the family. You know, William in particular is absolutely incensed about him, and Meghan, as is Kate, his wife, who was also buried in that book. You know, I think it's fine for Harry to make hundreds of millions of dollars torching his family, but when he comes face to face with them, they're going to, I think, be very, very frosty this time. And I suspect he'll be put under a pillar somewhere near Prince Andrew to keep him out of the way.
Well, even from William's perspective, I mean, you look at the book and you think, OK, Harry, you want to tell your story, that's your right to do, go for gold. But did he have to get nasty, and particularly about his brother balding and things like that? I mean, will William even acknowledge him or speak to him there?
I don't think William will go anywhere near him. No, I think he's absolutely incandescent with rage about it. He's done a few forced things with Harry in the last 3 years, but all of them were very awkward to watch. But I know for a fact from friends of mine who have got very well plugged into the world that William just wants to punch his lights out. He's not the only one. A lot of the family are very, very angry about what Harry and his wife have done. And they're also just, like I say, the brass neck of a guy rocking up now to this big event because he knows that if he doesn't, he ceases to be that interesting in America where they're making all their money. He's got to be seen with the royals because that's the fuel, that's the currency that they live on. But imagine if that was one of your family trashing all of you all day. I was thinking this, I said to my sons, I've got 3 sons in my 20s, one of you lot did this to my family for 3 years. That would be it. You wouldn't be invited to any family events. You'd be gone.
There was a little bit of talk this week that Harry might actually be seated between Beatrice and Eugenie, of course, Prince Andrew and Fergie's girls, because they're more sympathetic to him. I think actually one of them introduced Meghan to him, is the story. But there was a great photo very recently, last month, I think, of you hugging one of them. I think it was Beatrice. I don't know how Harry would have taken that.
Well, I've known Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice a long time. I knew their mum very well. I still do, Fergie, Sarah Ferguson. She's always been great. I've known her 30 years, and I've known the kids really since they were born. And they've always been utterly delightful. A real credit to their mum, actually, I think, in particular. Although I think Andrew's been a good father to them as well. But I think, yeah, it was quite amusing. I wasn't going to publicise that lunch, but there was some sneaky paparazzi, Erin. Can you believe it? As a former tabloid editor, I was shocked, I tell you. That there was some sneaky paparazzi getting pictures. And, of course, poor old Beatrice has given me a big old bear hug at the end as she leaves, and that's the picture that goes up. I would imagine that probably precipitated a volcanic explosion of molten hot, seething lava somewhere in Montecito.
Well, as someone who has been the victim of many paparazzi shots myself, but also use them in my line of work, I'm very reluctant to also be critical. But what about this public pledge? It seems utterly ridiculous to me that they think anyone in their households will stand up and do that out loud. What do you think about it? And is it a little bit of an own goal, especially if they're trying to make this institution more popular, younger, more relatable? It seems archaic.
Yeah, I think it is a bit of an own goal because I think that they haven't really thought this through, particularly the second half of it, where we're not just apparently supposed to be reciting our allegiance to this king, who is someone I greatly respect and would happily do that because I believe in the monarchy and I believe in the succession. But the idea we have to also plead allegiance to all of the heirs and successors. Now, think about that for a moment. We're only like 2 or 3 tragedies away, and I hate to say that, but this is reality of the line of succession. If certain key members of this royal family were to suddenly not be there, we're heading down to King Andrew territory, or God forbid, King Harry and Queen Meghan. And forgive me, I ain't going to be preaching any allegiance to that lot. So I don't think they thought this through very well. And I think there's going to be probably, I would imagine, a rather awkward silence in most homes when that penny drops and they realise by swearing the allegiance the way they want it to be phrased means it's unended. It can include all members of the royal family who may end up as monarch. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not ready to do that yet.
Piers, before we finish, if you were given a minute, say, to pitch to Australia as to why they should remain as part of the monarchy instead of becoming a republic, which is highly likely, a lot of people say inevitable, what would you say to the people of Australia?
I would look at places that have elected presidents like the United States, or prime ministers like the UK, Boris Johnson, Donald Trump, Joe Biden right now, and ask yourself one question. What's better for the reputation of your country to have as the actual head of state? Someone like Donald Trump with all the wrecking ball carnage that comes with him, someone like Boris Johnson or Liz Truss, which is where you go if you head towards elected officials running, being heads of state. I think there's something unique about the British monarchy and the Commonwealth. I think it's a special thing. And I think that we get rid of it you've got to think very carefully before you get rid of it about what you're losing. Because I was reared a monarchist, reared a fan of the royal family. But I would just remind people, remember in the middle of the COVID pandemic when everyone was really terrified and thousands of people were dying every day. And the Queen went on and gave a 4-minute address. That's all she said. But in one fell swoop, she managed to calm everyone down. She was the nation's, and indeed everywhere in the Commonwealth, a comfort blanket in an incredibly difficult moment. That's really the point of the monarchy. That and all the pomp and pageantry of these huge events and the tourism it attracts, they pretty much pay for themselves. It's not really about money, the argument. It's about this argument whether you want them as head of state or not. And I simply say, well, if you think about the alternative, it ain't always what it's cracked up to be. And there's something rather soothing about the continuity, I find anyway, of a royal family, albeit they're not elected. But sometimes that's a better thing, as we saw with the Queen. It was probably the greatest unelected official the world has ever seen.
As always, you've absolutely nailed it. We can't wait to watch you later on tonight. A very, very good show coming up. Piers Morgan, thank you so much, my friend. Can't wait to see you back in Australia again and for another lunch, of course.
Take care, Erin. All the best.